This is Emergency Broadcast Station Sierra Echo 4, transmitting on frequency 810 kilohertz. My name is Noah Bennett. If you're receiving this broadcast, it means you're alive, and I want you to know you're not alone. If you can respond safely, please do. But before I start, there are a few things you need to know first. We've established a strict set of security protocols to keep ourselves alive and our location hidden. I'll talk about everything I can, but due to these rules, I can't give exact details about our position, the layout of our shelter, or anything else that might put us at risk if the wrong people or the infected are listening. I'm sure you understand. Trust has become scarce these days, and caution is what's kept us breathing for the past 2 years. I'll start at the beginning. 2 years ago, life was different for me, as I'm sure it was for you. My name, as I said, is Noah Bennett. I was 25 back then, a courier in Denver. Simple work, driving around an old car, delivering packages all day long. My biggest worries were traffic jams or getting a coffee stain on my shirt. Like most people, I barely paid attention when the initial reports about the infection began surfacing. Who believed news could change the world overnight? Until it did. I remember clearly when everything collapsed. I was making deliveries near a local hospital. Normally, busy streets were jammed solid, ambulances trapped in gridlock, police shouting uselessly into megaphones. People were pouring toward the hospital, which had set up emergency tents out front. Doctors and nurses looked frantic. No one knew what to do. No one had any answers. By the end of that week, the military was on the streets, highways were clogged beyond capacity, and panic spread faster than the infection itself. I tried to keep working, hoping things would stabilize, but soon, deliveries were impossible. Customers weren't answering. Businesses closed, roads blocked by abandoned cars. Gasoline vanished overnight. Food was stripped from shelves. My old life evaporated. That's how I met Marie Becker. She was coordinating emergency services in Aurora, trying to hold together what was left of the rescue operations. Marie noticed me because of my van. Still running, still full of fuel, still reliable. She asked if I'd deliver emergency supplies, medicine, water, blankets to shelters and communities across the city. I said yes, because saying no didn't seem like an option anymore. Marie was the kind of person you trusted instantly, calm, confident, practical. She made people feel safe, even as the world around us fell apart. For months, I followed her directions, learned from her example, became part of her small team. We traveled from Aurora to Boulder, Fort Collins to Pueblo, always one step ahead of danger, always careful to avoid attracting attention from infected or desperate survivors who'd turned aggressive. But Marie always had a plan, an idea that gave us purpose. She knew about certain FEMA communication centers, hidden, secure emergency bunkers originally designed to operate during national disasters. Her hope was that we could reach one of these facilities, repair its equipment, and start broadcasting again. Maybe we'd find other survivors, not just locally, but from distant places. Maybe we could reconnect. It took months to find one of these stations. To protect anyone still listening, I won't say exactly where it is, only that we're somewhere in the vicinity of Colorado Springs. Though even that might be misleading for our safety. The facility itself was intact, but dormant. It took weeks of careful scavenging, repairs, and trial and error to bring it back online. Marie taught me about radio equipment, transmitters, receivers, antennas, basic electronics. Slowly, we restored enough power and equipment to broadcast messages again. We started transmitting a year ago. Short messages, just checking if anyone could hear us. Sometimes distant responses trickled in, brief, cautious exchanges with other survivors scattered across Colorado and surrounding states. But those responses rarely lasted long. Marie carefully documented every contact, every hint of humanity still surviving out there. But 3 days ago, everything changed again. Marie and Eli's a retired Army medic who's been with us since Pueblo, were out for a routine supply run. Food, water, fuel from abandoned areas we'd scouted previously. They were careful, always cautious. But this time was different. They returned quietly, faces pale and drawn. Marie had been bitten on her right arm. Eli treated her wound quietly, efficiently, but we all knew what it meant. Marie passed yesterday morning. We buried her last night, marking the spot quietly and discreetly. Before she died, she made me promise I would continue broadcasting. She believed that somewhere out there others were still fighting, still listening, still surviving. Eli hasn't said much since her passing. He's resting now, exhausted and grieving. He'll keep an eye on our perimeter later, checking traps and alarms we've carefully set around the shelter. Let me make this clear in case you're considering responding. We can't reveal our exact location or any details that might compromise security. We've seen too many groups destroyed by mistakes like that. But if you have questions about safe routes, about avoiding infection, methods for survival, medical tips, or anything else, we'll share what we can. Our goal is simple: to help, to reassure, to find whatever remains of humanity and hold on to it. To whoever hears me, keep your location safe. Keep your information guarded, but know you're not alone. If you're able, respond carefully without specifics. Even if you can't transmit safely, just know we're still out here, listening and broadcasting every night at the same frequency and time. We'll share what we learn, what we see, what we experience. If you hear us, let us know you're there. Until the next broadcast, stay alive, stay safe, and remember, someone out here is still listening. This is Noah Bennett at Sierra Echo 4, transmitting again on frequency 810 kilohertz. If you're listening tonight, thank you for holding on another day. As always, please keep your responses cautious. No specific coordinates or sensitive details. Your safety is priority, as well as ours. It's been a quiet day here at the shelter. Eli spent most of it reinforcing our defenses and checking our traps along the outer perimeter. He's meticulous, silent, always calm. After Marie's passing, he's barely spoken. But he's still sharp, still determined to keep this place secure. Eli's former military, a medic who spent 12 years in the U.S. Army before retirement. He's the reason we've managed to stay healthy and infection-free for so long. Without him, I'm not sure we'd have lasted this long at all. I've been monitoring the airwaves constantly, and while things are mostly quiet out there, sometimes we still pick up signals. Most are faint, distorted by distance and weak power. Occasionally, a voice breaks through clearly enough for us to respond. Those contacts, however brief, remind us that we're not entirely alone, that scattered across these ruined towns, highways, and abandoned countryside, others are still alive, still surviving. If you're hearing this broadcast, remember our protocols. Don't give away your exact location. But do let us know how you're holding up, what you've seen, or what kind of help or information you need. We'll do our best to advise. For those of you newer to our transmission, let me recap some basics we've found helpful. It might seem obvious after 2 years, but we've learned assumptions cost lives. First, water. Don't trust standing water sources. They may look clean, but contamination is common. Eli taught us simple boiling or filtration methods to make water safe. Use clean cloths, layers of sand and charcoal in containers, or boil water vigorously for at least 5 minutes if possible. Food storage matters greatly. If you have canned goods, check carefully for rust or bloating. Never take chances with spoiled food. 2 years in, supplies are increasingly scarce. Be creative, but always cautious. Store everything securely away from rodents and insects. Contamination is easier to prevent than to cure. Regarding shelter, mobility is crucial, but we've found stability matters more in the long run. If your location is secure and hidden, don't abandon it lightly. Reinforce doors and windows quietly. Barricade entry points, use camouflage or natural surroundings to disguise your presence. Keep noise to a minimum. Sound travels far these days, attracting unwanted attention. About the infected, we still don't know exactly how the virus operates medically, but we've observed consistent behavior. The infected seem drawn primarily by sound and movement. Their eyesight is limited, but never underestimate them. Avoid open roads or crowded areas whenever possible. Travel at dusk or dawn if you must move, when visibility for them seems lowest. Eli always advises observing from a hidden position first. Never approach groups directly unless unavoidable. Even then, caution and silence are critical. 2 days ago, we received a weak broadcast from somewhere east, possibly Nebraska or Kansas. The caller identified himself only as Charlie, a farmer who's been sheltering alone. Charlie reported sightings of large groups of infected heading westward, driven by unknown stimuli. Eli thinks seasonal weather changes or dwindling prey in certain areas might be causing infected groups to migrate. If Charlie's observation is accurate, we could be seeing increased movement through the Midwest and possibly toward Colorado or Wyoming soon. Stay vigilant, particularly if you're in these regions. If anyone else has noticed similar movements, please share your observations carefully in your next transmission. It could help others prepare. I'd like to share something personal tonight as well. Eli doesn't talk much, so I spend a lot of my downtime writing. Journals, notes, logs, everything from survival information to personal memories. I find writing helps keep my mind focused, grounded, especially during long periods of silence. Marie encouraged that. She said survivors have a responsibility, not just to survive, but to remember. She believes strongly that one day, the world would need to understand what happened, how humanity endured, what we lost, and what we preserved. Marie had a notebook of her own, kept it carefully hidden, documenting the earliest days of the crisis, back when she was still coordinating evacuations in Aurora. She wrote about everything: the chaos at shelters, difficult decisions made under pressure, small victories, heavy losses. I found that notebook this morning tucked safely beneath her bunk. Reading her thoughts now, seeing how much she carried silently on her shoulders, makes me wish I'd thanked her more while she was still here. There was an entry from our first day in this bunker, where Marie wrote a list titled "Why We Fight." It was simple, brief. She listed names of survivors we'd met and lost along the way, small reminders of who they were and what they hoped for. At the bottom, she wrote something that struck me deeply. We fight because survival isn't just about breathing. It's about what we choose to hold on to. I think about that often now. It reminds me why I keep these broadcasts alive, why Eli tirelessly checks our defenses, why we don't stop trying, even when hope feels small. We're fighting to hold on to something more than just existence. We're fighting to remain human. To anyone who can hear me tonight, hold on to your reasons, whatever they are. Remember what you're fighting for, even when the darkness seems endless. And if you feel alone, know that someone out here understands exactly how you feel. You're not forgotten. This is Noah Bennett, broadcasting again from Sierra. Echo 4 on frequency 810 kilohertz. If you're listening, thank you for staying alive another day. Remember our security guidelines. Avoid transmitting exact locations or detailed specifics that could compromise safety. But please, share what you can, even small things. Information helps us all survive. It's been another quiet but tense day here. Eli was up before dawn, checking our perimeter alarms. He's concerned about recent signs of infected activity closer to our area. We've been careful to maintain a low profile, but caution never hurts. Eli mentioned the likelihood that recent colder temperatures in the Rockies could be pushing the infected down into lower elevations in search of warmth and potential prey. Eli's been quiet, as always, but today he finally opened up a little about his past. It happened unexpectedly as we were sorting through some medical supplies we'd scavenged months ago. Eli was restocking our emergency medical kits, bandages, antiseptics, antibiotics, when he paused, holding a small, sealed first aid kit. He looked at it thoughtfully for a long time before finally speaking. He told me about his last deployment with the Army, Afghanistan near Kandahar, in 2017. Eli was a medic assigned to an infantry unit operating near Forward Operating Base Wilson. He spoke quietly, recalling the details: dry heat, endless patrols, and tense, sleepless nights. His voice was calm, steady, but I could hear the strain behind his words. He described a day when their convoy hit an improvised explosive device along Highway 1, one of the main supply routes in the region. 2 vehicles damaged, multiple injuries, and Eli had to stabilize wounded soldiers under fire until evacuation arrived. He remembered their faces clearly, their names, their voices. Eli said it wasn't the chaos or even the danger that stuck with him. It was the helplessness, the feeling of responsibility for lives he couldn't always save. Listening to Eli made me realize something crucial. Surviving isn't just physical. It's mental, emotional, carrying memories, regrets, moments that linger long after they're past. Eli still carries his memories from the war just like we carry our memories from the last 2 years. I suppose we're all carrying something now. After he finished restocking the kits, Eli gave me that small first aid pack, the one he'd been holding thoughtfully, and said, "Keep this with you, just in case. It's compact, reliable. Sometimes the smallest preparations save your life." Coming from Eli, I knew how much weight that statement carried. Today I'd like to share some practical knowledge we've accumulated over these past 2 years. We've learned from experience and mistakes, what works and what doesn't when avoiding or confronting infected. Eli taught me most of this, based on what he observed firsthand while protecting groups of survivors. First, infected behavior patterns. They're not completely predictable, but they generally seem more active at night or in cooler temperatures, likely driven by biological urges or simple instinct. Always observe an area quietly from a concealed position before moving into it. Patience saves lives. If you must travel, choose routes with cover. Buildings, dense vegetation, anything that reduces your visibility. Eli calls these shadow routes, safer paths away from open roads and city centers. Always assume the infected are nearby, even if you don't see them immediately. Avoid unnecessary noise at all costs. Infected have limited vision, but they respond aggressively to sound. Keep movements slow and deliberate. If confronted directly, distraction tactics work well. Throw at objects to lure them away, using reflective surfaces to redirect attention. Always carry simple items like rocks, bottles, or small metal objects to create diversions in an emergency. Regarding defense, remember weapons aren't always firearms. Guns attract more infected with noise. Eli prefers quieter methods when possible. Blunt instruments or hand tools like crowbars, tire irons, even sturdy branches. Aim for the head or upper body to ensure effective results. But remember, engaging infected directly should always be a last resort. Avoidance is survival. Another important tip is understanding supplies. Everything is limited, even more so now. Check expiration dates carefully. Prioritize long-lasting nutrition, dried foods, nuts, sealed containers. Medically, antibiotics, antiseptics, and painkillers are invaluable. Trade wisely, conserve carefully. Today, just after noon, we picked up a faint transmission from someone identifying herself as Abby, a nurse from somewhere north, possibly Wyoming or Montana. Abby mentioned a makeshift community managing to hold together despite harsh winters. They'd faced serious challenges, loss of crops, harsh weather, and supply shortages, but had kept infection rates low through strict quarantines and isolation measures. Abby's broadcast was brief but valuable. She advised everyone listening to prepare for colder months ahead. Winter hits hard now with infrastructure collapsed. She mentioned methods like insulating shelters with whatever materials are available, cardboard, blankets, even packed earth to preserve warmth. Small things, Abby said, could mean survival or freezing. We'll continue trying to reach Abby and hope she'll broadcast again soon. If anyone listening tonight has similar winter survival tips, please share them cautiously. I've thought a lot about Marie's notebook lately, especially her belief that survival isn't only about living. It's about holding on to our humanity. She was right. Small things matter now more than ever. A moment of kindness. A brief conversation over the airwaves. Sharing information that might help someone else. Those moments remind us who we used to be, who we still are, even after everything. Gay. If you're listening tonight and feel lost, isolated, or overwhelmed, remember this. You're not forgotten. Humanity hasn't vanished. It's just scattered, hidden, careful, and that's okay. Survival requires caution, but also hope. We'll keep broadcasting every night, sharing what we learn, and hoping to hear your voices back, however brief, however cautious. If you're able, Respond carefully, share safely. We're still out here listening closely. Until tomorrow's transmission, stay safe, keep vigilant, and remember, you're not alone. This is Noah Bennett, transmitting again from Sierra Echo 4 on frequency 810 kilohertz. If you're listening out there tonight, I'm glad you're still with us. As always, keep your responses cautious. Protect yourself first, but please share whatever you safely can. Today began quietly, but our situation changed slightly in the afternoon. Eli spotted movement beyond our secured perimeter. Not infected this time, but a small group of survivors passing through. 3 adults moving slowly, carefully. Eli observed them through binoculars from our concealed lookout point. They didn't seem hostile, just cautious and weary. They never noticed us and moved on quietly after resting briefly near an abandoned structure down the road. Watching them from our hidden spot, I found myself torn. Part of me wanted to signal them, to reach out and offer help, but our rules exist for a reason, and breaking them could risk everything we've built here. Eli and I spoke briefly afterward. He agreed that caution was necessary. Still, seeing other survivors, even from a distance, reminds me how desperately important human connection remains. If you're one of those travelers and somehow hearing this broadcast tonight, stay cautious, but know that you aren't alone. After the travelers passed, Eli and I reviewed our own supplies and defenses. We're well stocked on essentials for now: water, food, medicine. But we're always thinking ahead. Winter is coming quickly. In Colorado, especially at higher elevations, winter hits hard. Snowfall can block roads, freeze water sources, and trap survivors indoors for weeks at a time. We're taking precautions. Stocking extra firewood, sealing drafts around windows and doors, and double-checking our backup generators and fuel reserves. Earlier this evening, we received another weak transmission. This broadcast was from a man calling himself Jacob, somewhere near what sounded like Grand Junction, west of us. Jacob mentioned significant challenges in his area, infected numbers increasing, possibly due to migration from nearby states. He described difficult decisions they'd faced, leaving safe shelters behind, relocating supplies, and tough choices about when and how to move groups safely. Jacob's voice was tired, strained, but determined. He emphasized a vital lesson they learned the hard way. Never assume any area is permanently safe. Regular patrols and careful scouting are essential, even if you think your area is secure. Jacob also mentioned methods they'd use to relocate quietly. Traveling at dawn, avoiding open spaces, and relying on simple visual signals like small mirrors or fabric markers to communicate silently across distances. His transmission faded before we could ask questions. Jacob, if you're listening, please reach out again soon if you can safely do so. Your information helps everyone. Tonight, I'd like to share some of the strategies Eli and I have developed to maintain mental health. Survival isn't just physical, it's emotional, psychological. We've seen many groups collapse under stress, anxiety, fear, or grief. Isolation amplifies these effects, making daily routines crucial. We've learned that structure helps immensely. Simple routines, checking supplies, performing equipment maintenance, exercising regularly, create a sense of normalcy. Eli emphasizes physical activity, basic exercises like push-ups, sit-ups, and walking quietly inside secure areas to maintain fitness and mental clarity. Exercise reduces stress and helps sleep, which is critical when vigilance is constant. Sleep management is another challenge. We rotate watch schedules carefully, ensuring one of us is always rested enough to remain alert. Fatigue leads to mistakes, and mistakes cost lives. Eli taught me short breathing exercises, slow, steady breaths, to ease anxiety, especially when restlessness sets in. It sounds minor, but it helps. Additionally, we encourage activities beyond pure survival, reading books we've collected from abandoned homes, writing journals, even simple hobbies like sketching or organizing supplies methodically. Marie was particularly passionate about maintaining journals. She believed strongly in documenting our experiences, both practical knowledge and personal reflections. She said it reminded us we're still human, still capable of thinking beyond immediate survival. Speaking of Marie, I reread some of her earlier entries today. One from several months ago stuck with me profoundly. She wrote about a difficult day when our small group lost two members, Ben and Christine, in a surprise infected attack near Pueblo. Marie struggled deeply afterward, questioning her decisions and leadership. But at the end of that entry, she wrote something powerful. We owe it to them to survive, to learn from our mistakes, to do better next time. Survival isn't only about ourselves. It's about those who came before us and those who might follow. I keep thinking about her words. Surviving now isn't just about making it through another day. It's about remembering why survival matters. It's about preserving something meaningful for whatever future remains. I want to remind anyone listening that we're always open to sharing practical tips or survival advice. If you have questions about handling infected encounters, fortifying shelters, managing supplies, medical advice, or psychological strategies, please ask. We'll do our best to provide accurate, helpful information. And if you discovered something useful, please pass it on. Your experiences could save another life out there. To anyone listening tonight feeling isolated or hopeless, know you're still connected. Every voice matters. Every survivor counts. The fact you're still fighting means something, even if you can't see it yet. Don't lose sight of that. Finally, as a general reminder, winter preparations should be a priority now. Gather fuel, insulate shelters, secure water sources, and stock up on food that won't spoil. We don't know how severe this winter might become, especially without infrastructure. Better preparation means a higher chance of making it through. We'll continue broadcasting at this same time every night. Frequency 810 kilohertz. Share your messages cautiously. Protect yourself. Please keep reaching out. Your voices give us strength and remind us we're not alone in this darkness. Stay safe tonight. Keep watchful, and remember you're not forgotten. This is Noah Bennett transmitting again from Sierra. Echo 4, frequency 810 kilohertz. To everyone tuning in tonight, thank you for continuing to listen. If you're broadcasting back, please keep to the security rules we discussed. Avoid specifics about your exact location or sensitive details. Share what you safely can, and stay cautious. Today started differently than usual. Early this morning, Eli woke me before dawn. He'd been monitoring radio channels during his watch and picked up unusual activity. Several faint transmissions, scattered signals indicating increased, infected movements nearby. We couldn't pinpoint precise directions, but the scattered reports suggested activity northwest of our general area. We spent the morning reinforcing our perimeter quietly, adding extra concealment to entry points and double-checking our alarm systems. Basic tripwires connected to empty cans, simple but effective. Eli also reset some traps along likely approach paths. Our position remains secure, but we're on higher alert than usual. If you're hearing this and located somewhere northwest of central Colorado, please be cautious in the coming days, stay quiet, and avoid unnecessary outdoor activity. Around midday, we received a clearer transmission from someone identifying herself as Grace. She didn't give her precise location as per protocol, but from what she shared, we believe she's somewhere in eastern Utah or western Colorado. Grace described herself as a former school teacher who had been surviving alone for over a year after losing her group to infection. Recently, she found shelter in an abandoned farmhouse, using the barn and surrounding fields as concealment. Grace shared some practical advice we found helpful. She's relied heavily on farming and gardening to supplement dwindling supplies. Even small-scale cultivation has helped her survive. She recommended certain fast-growing plants suitable for colder climates, root vegetables like carrots and potatoes, leafy greens like spinach, kale, and hardy herbs like rosemary or thyme. She advised keeping gardens discreet, using natural camouflage like tall grasses or shrubs to avoid attracting attention. Grace also provided tips about food preservation techniques, drying fruits and vegetables in sunlight during warmer days, salting meat and fish if available, and simple root cellar methods using deep, insulated pits to preserve food through the winter months. Her advice was detailed, practical, and extremely valuable. Grace, if you're still listening tonight, thank you. Your knowledge will undoubtedly help many others. Late this afternoon, Eli and I conducted an inventory of our stored supplies. Food and medicine are stable, but some medical supplies, like antibiotics and antiseptics, are becoming harder to replenish. Eli emphasized preventive care strongly today. Small wounds and infections can become critical quickly. If you're out there surviving alone or in small groups, remember hygiene and wound care are vital. Soap, clean water, antiseptics like iodine or alcohol, and basic first aid supplies should always remain a priority. One thing Eli mentioned that stood out today: proper foot care. It sounds trivial, but he explained from his military experience how critical it is, especially when mobility is essential. Always wear clean, dry socks, check regularly for blisters or cuts, and dry footwear thoroughly whenever possible. Small issues can escalate rapidly, becoming severe infections or mobility threats. Keep footwear clean, rotate pairs if possible, and always check for damage before moving long distances. Something else Eli mentioned earlier today has stuck with me deeply. He was recalling his time overseas, specifically a period spent near Kandahar during deployments. He spoke quietly about the importance of morale and team cohesion in difficult environments. During his service, Eli learned firsthand how quickly morale could collapse, especially under constant pressure. He emphasized that maintaining positive morale within any group, no matter how small, is as crucial as physical preparedness. Eli recommended simple rituals to maintain morale, especially when under prolonged stress. Even small routines, like sharing meals together at regular times, checking in emotionally each day, or maintaining structured routines, can significantly help morale and unity. His experience, groups with strong emotional bonds survive difficult circumstances far better than those fractured by stress and isolation. This evening, I reread more entries from Marie's journal. Her insights always strike a deep chord. One entry described how our group nearly collapsed several months back after a close encounter with infected near Fort Collins. Stress, anger, and fear led to arguments, fractures in our cohesion. Marie wrote honestly about her frustrations, but also about the importance of openly discussing fears and anxieties within the group. She believed transparency and honesty, while difficult, strengthened us as survivors. Marie's final line from that entry resonates deeply tonight. We aren't weak for admitting we're scared or exhausted. We're human. Our strength comes from sharing these burdens, not hiding them. If you're listening tonight and feeling overwhelmed or isolated, please remember that message. Strength isn't just endurance. It's emotional openness, honesty, trust in those around you. Share your burdens carefully, but don't carry them alone. A quick reminder about upcoming colder weather. Especially if you're located in regions known for harsh winters, prepare early. Double-check insulation in shelters, gather extra fuel sources like wood or propane. Safely if available, stock extra blankets or warm clothing, and secure food supplies to avoid shortages during extended snowfalls. Preventive measures now can save lives later. Lastly, to the group of survivors we spotted yesterday. If by chance you're hearing tonight's transmission, know that you aren't alone. We saw you briefly from a safe distance and wish you safety. Remain cautious, trust selectively, and continue moving carefully. If you're able to transmit without compromising security, please let us know you're okay. To anyone else listening tonight, remember, each day survived is a victory. Each night passed safely a step forward. Don't underestimate the importance of your survival. It matters profoundly, even if you can't see it clearly right now. We'll keep broadcasting each night at the same frequency. Keep your responses careful, avoid specifics, but please share safely when you can. Your voices give us hope and strength. This is Noah Bennett transmitting from Sierra. Echo 4 on frequency 810 kHz. If you're listening tonight, it means you've survived another day. As always, thank you for being there. If you transmit back, keep your information cautious. Avoid revealing exact locations or sensitive specifics. Your safety is our highest priority. Today brought colder weather. A clear sign winter is closing in faster than we'd hoped. Overnight, temperatures dropped significantly. Eli woke me early again, concerned about water storage and pipes freezing. We spent the morning insulating exposed plumbing, sealing drafts, and carefully checking our heating systems. Preparation now prevents emergencies later, especially since we can't rely on outside help. Earlier today, we received another faint broadcast, this time from someone identifying himself as Marcus. He didn't give specifics on his location, smart, but mentioned he's somewhere in southeastern Wyoming, possibly near Cheyenne. Marcus reported increased infected activity around formerly quieter areas, particularly along major highways like I-25 and I-80. He suspects colder weather is driving infected groups southward, seeking warmth or easier prey. Marcus shared important observations about infected migration patterns he's witnessed recently. He noticed that infected clusters are attracted by abandoned vehicles, homes, or buildings that might offer warmth or residual human scent. Marcus strongly advised everyone listening to avoid leaving obvious signs of habitation or activity. Keep shelters concealed, remove or hide signs of recent fires or cooking, and maintain strict noise discipline, especially now with increased infected movement. Marcus, if you're listening tonight, thank you for your observations. They align closely with our experiences and those shared by other survivors. Please stay cautious, and if you're able, keep transmitting safely. Your insights help us all survive. After hearing Marcus's broadcast, Eli and I reviewed our concealment measures carefully. We've redoubled our efforts to remain hidden. Eli even took additional steps today, such as scattering debris and brush around entry points and paths we use frequently. These minor camouflage techniques can significantly reduce visibility from a distance. Eli constantly reminds me, if they don't see you, they can't threaten you. On a practical note, today we inventoried winter clothing and insulation supplies. Eli emphasized something important. Maintaining core body temperature is crucial during winter months. Even minor hypothermia affects decision-making, physical coordination, and immune response. If you're preparing for winter, remember to layer clothing. Base layers for moisture control, middle layers for insulation, and outer layers to block wind and moisture. Eli also stressed foot and hand protection. Frostbite risk increases rapidly in cold weather. Always wear gloves, thick socks, insulated footwear, and keep extremities dry. In prolonged cold conditions, check regularly for numbness or discoloration in fingers and toes. Immediate warming and gentle massage of affected areas can prevent lasting damage. Late this afternoon, Eli and I quietly gathered extra firewood and carefully stacked it indoors, avoiding leaving obvious piles outside that might attract attention. Fire safety remains critical. Eli showed me how to properly vent our small stove, preventing dangerous carbon monoxide buildup indoors. Always ensure good ventilation, even if it slightly reduces warmth. Safety first. Always. Tonight, I'd also like to share a bit more from Marie's journals. Revisiting her entries has become an essential ritual for me, a reminder of who we've lost, but also what we still fight for. Marie often wrote about leadership, especially under pressure. One particular entry stood out today. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about making difficult decisions clearly and calmly, even when you're unsure. People depend on your steadiness, not your perfection. I've thought deeply about her words. Leadership during a crisis doesn't mean being perfect or fearless. It means providing stability and clear thinking, even when everything feels chaotic. Eli exemplifies this daily. Quietly, steadily, he's always prepared, always cautious, always thinking ahead. He doesn't claim to know everything. He just does what needs to be done, calmly and carefully. On that note, if you're part of a small group or even alone, remember that everyone can demonstrate leadership, no matter your background. Simply staying calm, assessing situations rationally, and taking deliberate action, even small steps, can make a huge difference. Panic spreads quickly, but so does calm. Choose calm whenever you can. A quick reminder about medical precautions, especially during colder months. Respiratory infections become more common as temperatures drop. Practice careful hygiene, regular hand washing, disinfecting surfaces, and managing moisture indoors to prevent mold or bacteria growth. Warm liquids like tea or broth, if available, help maintain hydration and warmth. If someone shows signs of illness, isolate them safely if possible to limit transmission. We've heard from survivors that basic homemade remedies can help when traditional medicine is unavailable. Warm saltwater gargles relieve sore throats. Herbal teas made from dried herbs like chamomile, peppermint, or ginger can ease respiratory symptoms. These methods aren't cures, but they help manage symptoms safely when options are limited. To anyone out there feeling isolated tonight, remember you aren't alone. The silence around you might feel endless, but voices still exist beyond it. Survivors, scattered and careful, remain connected by signals like this one. Every night we broadcast, hoping to hear your responses. Even if you can't transmit safely, simply listening means you're still holding on, still part of something larger. To those we've heard from recently, Grace, Marcus, Jacob, Abby, your messages and advice continue to help others survive. Thank you for your courage and willingness to share safely. Please continue transmitting carefully whenever possible. Winter approaches quickly, and with it, new challenges. But remember, preparation now greatly improves survival odds later. Check supplies, reinforce shelters, practice careful concealment, and remain vigilant. Small actions today could mean life or death tomorrow. We'll keep broadcasting each night at this same frequency. Please respond safely, cautiously. Your voices remind us that humanity still exists out there, resilient and determined. Stay cautious tonight. Remain alert, and know that someone out here remembers you, thinks of you, and hopes you'll hold on for one more day. This is Noah Bennett at Sierra, Echo 4, transmitting again on frequency 810 kilohertz. If you're hearing my voice tonight, it means you made it through another day. That alone is a victory. As always, if you choose to respond, remember our security protocols. No exact locations, no names of places that could put you or your group at risk. Share what you can, but guard yourselves first. The temperature dropped sharply again last night. Even inside with what insulation we have, the cold creeps in. Breath hangs in the air now in faint clouds. Eli and I spent the better part of the morning checking seals around doors and windows, patching any drafts with spare fabric and strips of plastic sheeting. It's not perfect, but it'll hold for now. One lesson we've learned the hard way. Never underestimate the importance of small maintenance tasks. A single loose panel or cracked seal can mean the difference between a safe shelter and a disaster when the weather turns severe. If you're hunkering down for winter, don't wait until the storm comes. Check everything now, while you still can. Today, during the early afternoon, we picked up another weak transmission. A woman calling herself Dana, somewhere west, perhaps Utah or Nevada. Her message was short, breaking up with static, but we caught enough to understand her situation. Dana and two others have been moving constantly, avoiding urban centers entirely. She reported major infected activity along former Interstate 15 and near the outskirts of Salt Lake City, groups migrating southward, similar to the patterns others have noticed. She also warned of a different kind of threat. Desperate survivors armed, traveling in packs. Dana described an encounter a few weeks ago. Her group narrowly avoided an ambush set up along a rural road using an abandoned vehicle as bait. It's a hard but necessary reminder. Danger doesn't only come from the infected. As resources run low, some people will do anything to survive. Dana's advice was clear. Avoid predictable paths. Major roads, gas stations, and grocery stores are high-risk zones now. Travel by indirect routes whenever possible. Stay out of sight, even if it means taking longer or harder paths. Silence and invisibility are your best defenses. If you're traveling, remember, plan routes carefully, identify fallback points, places to hide temporarily if needed. Always carry a map, paper not electronic, and mark safe spots as you find them. Electronics fail, batteries die, paper lasts. I want to add something personal tonight. After Dana's transmission, I spent a long time thinking about trust, about the fine line we walk every day between hope and caution. Marie used to say trust was a resource, just like food or water, something precious, something to be rationed carefully. She wasn't wrong. Over the past 2 years, we've encountered both kindness and cruelty, strangers who shared supplies freely, and others who would have taken everything we had if given the chance. Trust saved us some days. Distrust saved us others. The key, Marie said, was never to stop hoping, but also never to stop thinking. If you're out there tonight struggling with decisions about trust, remember, listen to your instincts, your gut, sharpened by experience, is often your best protection. It's okay to hope. It's okay to want connection. Just don't let those wants blind you to danger. Hope should never come at the expense of vigilance. This evening, after our equipment checks, Eli and I spent time going through old maps, real paper atlases, well worn, frayed at the edges. We marked areas we know to be unsafe, dense infected zones, collapsed bridges, impassable roads. We also marked locations where historically there might still be supplies, small towns, farming co-ops, rural hospitals. It's strange looking at those maps. They feel like artifacts from another world. A world that existed only 2 years ago, but now seems almost mythological. Places we took for granted. Communities that no longer exist. Highways that led somewhere, not to nowhere. But those maps are more than nostalgia. They're survival tools. They remind us that the land itself remains, even if the structures of civilization have crumbled. Rivers still flow, mountains still stand. Fields still stretch out under open skies. Geography hasn't abandoned us, even if governments and systems have. If you're moving across territory now, use natural geography whenever possible. Rivers, mountain ranges, old railroads. These features are reliable guides when man-made infrastructure falls apart. Study your surroundings. Read the land the way our ancestors did, before maps were common. Trust your observations more than old road signs or broken GPS units. Tonight, as I prepare to end this broadcast, I want to say this clearly. Survival isn't just about clinging to life day by day. It's about carrying something forward. Memories, stories, kindness, resilience. It's about preserving the best parts of who we were before the collapse. Marie believed that with all her heart. She wrote it once in her journal, "The world broke apart, but we don't have to. We carry the seeds of rebuilding, even if we never live to see the harvest." That thought gives me strength on nights like this. Maybe it can give you strength too. We'll keep transmitting every night at this same time. We'll continue sharing information, advice, and reminders that you aren't alone. If you're listening and it's safe to do so, respond, even just a few words. Your voice matters. Until tomorrow night, stay hidden, stay sharp, and above all, stay human. This is Noah Bennett from Sierra Echo 4, broadcasting again on frequency 810 kilohertz. If you're hearing this, I hope it means you're somewhere safe tonight. Before we begin, the reminder stands. If you choose to transmit, stay cautious. Avoid giving exact locations, full names, or anything that could lead danger to your door. Protect yourselves first. Share only what you can safely. The cold sharpened even further today. By sunrise, the thermometer inside read just above freezing, despite the insulated walls and slow-burning stove. Frost clung to the inside corners of the windows. Everything outside looked frozen under a thin, hard shell, silent, brittle, waiting. Yet, movement was scarce today. Eli and I kept watch in shifts but saw no infected, no scavengers, no travelers, just a few crows circling in the distance, and the endless, crackling sound of frozen branches shifting under their own weight. Sometimes, stillness brings a different kind of fear. The knowledge that something is building quietly out of sight. With the weather turning worse, we spent a good part of the morning adjusting our water collection systems. Meltwater will be harder to come by in the coming weeks. We reinforced the underground storage tanks and checked all the filtration units. If you're relying on collected water, rainwater, meltwater, or runoff, remember to boil thoroughly if you can. In cold weather, contaminants linger longer, and infections are harder to fight without antibiotics. Today, while going through the emergency supplies, Eli brought out something we hadn't used in a while, a hand-cranked emergency radio. Not for broadcasting, but for scanning frequencies quietly. It's a reminder that sometimes older, simpler tools are more reliable. No batteries required, no heavy fuel demands, just mechanical energy and patience. If you're gathering supplies for long-term survival, I strongly recommend adding one to your list. A basic hand-cranked or solar-powered radio can be a lifeline when everything else fails. Around midday, while scanning through static, we picked up a new voice. Brief, almost too faint to hear. A young man calling himself Kevin, likely somewhere in northern New Mexico. His signal was thin and distorted, probably low power or a makeshift transmitter, but he managed to say enough. Kevin reported that rural areas south of Santa Fe have seen small survivor clusters forming again, groups trying to rebuild small communities on ranches and isolated farms. However, he warned that these gatherings can attract both infected and hostile survivors. One cluster near Galisteo was overrun 2 weeks ago. He didn't know if anyone made it out. His message was simple but clear. Regrouping offers hope, but it also brings risk. Visibility, noise, activity, all these things increase with more people in one place. If you're thinking of joining or forming a group, remember, balance safety with discretion. Growth without caution can undo months of survival in a single night. Kevin, if you can hear this, thank you. Stay safe. Conserve your equipment. If you're able to transmit again, we'll be listening. After his transmission faded, Eli and I spent some time discussing a topic we haven't covered enough. Escape plans. Even fortified shelters, no matter how well prepared, are not invincible. Fire, attack, structural collapse. Any number of things can force you to abandon your base in seconds. If you haven't already, establish a contingency plan. Pre-pack go bags with essentials: water, food for at least 48 hours, a medical kit, a heat source, basic tools, and if possible, a means of communication. Identify at least 2 escape routes from your shelter, preferably routes that provide cover and lead to secondary hiding places. Never rely on just one way out. And most importantly, drill those escape routes if your situation allows it. Practice under different conditions: day, night, cold, rain. Stress changes everything. Muscle memory can save your life when panic strikes. Marie emphasized escape planning constantly. She said hope is important, but denial is deadly. Planning for worst-case scenarios doesn't mean you've given up. It means you intend to survive no matter what. Tonight, reading her journal again, I found a line that feels especially heavy after Kevin's message. We plan for flight, not because we want to run, but because survival is choosing to live another day when the odds turn against us. There's wisdom in those words. Hope is what keeps us human. Preparation is what keeps us alive. As the broadcast window closes for tonight, I want to leave you with a reminder. The world has changed, yes. It's harsher, quieter, crueler, but in its silence, there's still space for new choices, for smarter survival, for better beginnings if we endure long enough. Every breath you draw is resistance against collapse. Every night you survive is a small defiance of everything that tried to end us. This is Noah Bennett from Sierra Echo 4, transmitting again on frequency 810 kilohertz. Tonight's transmission is important. If you're listening, stay cautious, but listen closely. Today, for the first time in months, we made real contact. It happened mid-morning. Eli was outside reinforcing the antenna cables. High winds last night loosened one of the anchors. I was at the main console, running a standard frequency sweep, half expecting the usual static and background hum. But at 9:47, something cut through the noise. A voice? Clear, deliberate, professional. At first, I thought it was a memory, some old automated loop from before the fall, but it wasn't. The transmission was live. A male voice identified himself as Station Argus. No location given. Smart, no unnecessary details. Just a simple announcement. This is Station Argus. Eastern Relay operational. Open to secure communications. Confirm identity if able. Repeat. Station Argus, standing by. I froze for a second, then responded according to the protocols Marie taught me. Minimal details, no names, no positions. I identified Sierra Echo 4. Confirmed we were a survivor broadcast unit, operational and willing to establish secure contact for information exchange. There was a long pause. Static crept in. Then Argus came back. His voice was clipped, military or at least trained. He spoke cautiously, sticking to structured, careful phrases. He confirmed that Station Argus was a restored broadcast relay point manned by a small team. No mention of military affiliation or civilian status. He said their mission was simple: collect survivor signals, compile status reports, maintain communication lines where possible. Argus asked for basic operational status: power levels, fuel reserves, medical supply condition. I gave general answers, broad estimates, no specifics. He seemed satisfied. Then he said something that caught me completely off guard. Multiple relay points believed to be operational along former eastern seaboard. Limited contact. Intermittent. No continental communications restored. No federal continuity verified. Proceed assuming isolated clusters only. In plain terms, no working national government, no functioning continental system. Just isolated survivor groups doing what they can to maintain some kind of communication network. I asked about international signals. Europe, Asia, South America, anywhere. Argus responded carefully. No confirmed overseas transmissions. Suspected long-wave signals intercepted sporadically. Non-verifiable origin. Proceed assuming continental isolation. Which means as of now we must assume the North American continent is cut off, maybe permanently. I wish I could tell you otherwise. I wish I could say there's some vast rescue operation on its way. Fleets of ships ready to evacuate survivors, planes descending from the clouds to bring relief. But that's not the world we live in anymore. We are on our own, clustered in pockets of survival, connected only by fragile lines of radio waves threading through an empty world. After a few more careful exchanges, Argus requested nightly check-ins, brief signal confirmations once every 48 hours at preset times. Not conversations, just simple confirmations that Sierra Echo 4 is still operational. Alive. I agreed. Before the connection ended, Argus left me with a simple message, almost like a code, or maybe just a bit of humanity bleeding through his professional tone. Stay steady, strengthen numbers, even unseen. It struck me harder than I expected. After the transmission ended, Eli came inside. I told him everything. He didn't say much, just nodded slowly, quietly pulled out one of Marie's old maps, and started marking potential directions where other relay stations might be operating. Even in his silence, I could tell. It mattered to him, just like it mattered to me. Real communication. Proof that we're not shouting into endless static. Proof that others are still trying, still surviving, still thinking beyond just the next day. But it's fragile, temporary, no promises. We'll continue operating independently. We'll continue protecting ourselves. We'll continue living like there's no cavalry coming. But maybe, just maybe, we're not entirely alone anymore. Tonight, as I sit here recording this, I think of all the people out there who might be listening. Those afraid to answer, or too far to reach, or unsure whether anyone's still out here at all. We are. We're still here. And as long as we have breath and power enough to run these transmitters, we will be. If you hear this, know that others are trying. Quietly, carefully, patiently. Networks of whispers threading through the silence. Survivors building invisible bridges across ruined continents. If you are able to transmit, stay careful. Protect your information, but know that you're not just surviving for yourself. You're part of something larger now, however fragile, however hidden. And if you can't transmit yet, or ever, just listen, that's enough. Listening keeps the line alive. Listening keeps the world from going completely dark. We'll broadcast again tomorrow night, 810 kilohertz. Stronger now, steadier. If Argus or anyone else is listening, you'll hear us. Until then, conserve your strength, guard your warmth, hide well. Hope carefully, but never stop hoping. This is Noah Bennett from Sierra Echo 4, broadcasting on 810 kilohertz. If you're receiving this, thank you for staying alive, for enduring, for listening. This may be the last time I broadcast for a while. Tonight started like any other. Cold crept in early, frost painting thin veins across the concrete walls. Eli and I did our final rounds, checking the antenna, testing the emergency generator, confirming supplies. Routine, familiar, comforting even. At 21 o'clock, I sent the scheduled signal ping to Station Argus. 2 bursts, standard acknowledgement. They answered. Strong signal, steady. It's strange how quickly something can start to feel normal again, even after 2 years of chaos. The idea that someone, somewhere, is listening and answering, it changes the way the night feels. But at 21:46, our alarms triggered. Motion sensors placed along the perimeter picked up multiple fast-moving contacts, not animals, not cautious survivors. Too erratic. Too many. Eli was already at the observation slit, rifle ready. He signaled me over without a word. Through the cracked glass I saw them. Dozens, maybe more, infected. Not wandering aimlessly like we used to see, not the slow drift of isolated figures. These moved with purpose. Not coordinated exactly, but driven, hungry. We don't know how they found us. Maybe it was a stray signal. Maybe it was the heat signature. Maybe it was just blind luck finally running out. It doesn't matter now. The first wave tested the perimeter. Tripping wire alarms, rattling loose fencing, pushing against weak spots we'd reinforced countless times. Eli fired only when necessary, conserving ammunition. Quiet, quick shots, no wasted movement. A professional even now. I kept broadcasting even as adrenaline screamed at me to stop. You're hearing this because I wanted someone, anyone, to know what happened here if we don't make it out. At 22:10, they breached the first barrier. Eli set off the secondary traps, small charges we'd rigged from salvage supplies. It slowed them, but not enough. Inside, the radio station feels smaller now, tighter. Every sound magnified. The scuff of boots on concrete, the mechanical click of a reloaded magazine, the dull roar of blood in my ears. At 22:30, Eli ordered me to start fallback procedures. Pack essentials. Destroy sensitive materials. Prepare the final message. He's making ready to lead them away, to draw them off. He insists he has a plan. Says he'll circle around to one of our secondary shelters, meet me there in 2 days. But we both know what this is. It's a sacrifice. Marie used to say that survival is choosing to live another day when the odds turn against you. Eli's giving me that choice. I argued. I shouted. I begged. It didn't matter. His mind was set the moment he saw the numbers outside. He's outside now as I speak. I can hear distant shots, measured, deliberate, pulling the infected away from the main bunker. I don't know how long he can hold them off. I'm broadcasting this final log before I shut down the main console. I've packed what I can. Radio gear, survival kit, Marie's journal. I'll take only what I can carry. The rest will stay here, hidden, buried and static and silent. If you find this broadcast days from now, weeks, maybe longer, know this. We fought. We held. We didn't give in to fear. We stayed human, even when it would have been easier not to. I'm leaving this station under cover of night, slipping into the cold, silent hills beyond. Moving light, moving fast. Avoiding main roads, following the old tracks and creek beds we mapped long ago. I don't know if I'll reach the fallback shelter. I don't know if Eli will be waiting there. But I know this much. This world still has voices, still has stories, still has people worth saving. And wherever I go, whatever happens next, I will carry those voices with me. The line doesn't end here. The signal doesn't die here. Not tonight. This is Noah Bennett from Sierra Echo 4, signing off. Stay sharp, stay hidden, stay human.